Hey guys, YouTuber 100 here. Alright, and now here I am to continue with my classic monster movie reviews. Taking a look at another Frankenstein sequel. Here I am with a review for Son of Frankenstein. So, to be honest, I was actually pretty bored with this film, to be honest. I mean, I just really did not really see anything interesting about this film at all. I mean, this film really does seem to have a pretty good reception from everyone. I mean, this is at 91% on Rotten Tomatoes, but honestly, I'm just not seeing that. I'm just not seeing what it is people really do seem to love about this film. Because after like watching the first two Frankenstein films, this one just really seems like a really big downgrade, and I just really find this as a huge bore, honestly. I mean, seriously, I mean, after like watching Bride of Frankenstein and seeing like what took place in that film, I was actually thinking that this film could have like been like this would have been like some more continuation of that, just like how Bride of Frankenstein was really like a continuation from right where the first film had left off. But that wasn't the case. I mean, this film really does like have a completely different story that really is not connected with the first two films at all. And yeah, this film is really set like a pretty long time, or like a pretty ordinate amount of time after the first two films. I mean, yeah, while the first two films, those were set in kind of like the early 1900s, this one seems to like be taking place around sometime in the 1930s. And I really was not very interested in this film. I mean, yeah, one like you still have Boris Karloff reprising the role as the monster, and this would be the final time he would reprise the role. But other than that, I mean, this film really has a completely different set of characters. I mean, the Doctor, Henry Frankenstein, he's not in this film at all. As the title says, is this time, like, his son is in the film. Instead, yeah, his son, Baron Wolf von Frankenstein, he's in this film along with his family. And it really just, the premise of this film is, like, it really does seem to just be real simple. Like, with this, like, it's just that Baron really wants to like redeem his father and like the Frankenstein name because his father really did have a bad reputation with the village after like of course the events of the first two films. And yeah, he just really wants to redeem his family's name and stuff. And yeah, it's basically like in this film like he just eventually like brings the monster back to life and stuff, and really like this film really has little to no continuity with the previous film at all, because remember like in the previous film as I was talking about, it had like sorry, yeah, I had a bug on my screen. Yeah, in the first film it was like the monster was like really like learning from his mistakes from the first film, and like he was going through a character arc. He was like learning to talk and stuff, and he eventually did like starts speaking in the previous film. In this film, like there's none of that. Like the monster doesn't talk anymore, and really just this film just seems to kind of just act like none of that stuff from the second film with the monster like learning to talk and stuff and his character development. It's like that never happened because now we really like don't get any continuation with like what the monster learned in the previous film and this one. So yeah, that kind of sucks. And then, yeah, in this film we also do have like Bela Lugosi in this film. Bela Lugosi plays like this character Igor, and yeah, Igor is really just like a blacksmith that was like he like was like executed for like grave robbing, and like he actually ended up surviving his execution, which was hanging. But yeah, his neck was now deformed, and Yeah, eventually, like a Baron and Igor end up like reviving the monster, her back, because they just find that the monster really was like placed in like the same crypt that his grandfather, Baron's grandfather and his father had been buried. And then yeah, Baron like just ends up like wanting to revive the monster again to like restore his family's honor to show that his father was right. Yeah, and then yeah, they like end up reviving the monster. But yeah, for some reason in this film, like the monster is under like Igor's command. I mean, yeah, I don't think they actually really do like actually touch up on why it really is only like Igor that the monster obeys in this film. And yeah, and Igor like just wants revenge on the people that found him guilty of what he did, and so then like Igor just ends up like sending the monster to basically just murder all the jurors that were at his trial and stuff. And really like this film just is really not interesting because a lot of this film like it shows that Baron is like friends with a police inspector, Inspector Krogh, and yeah, in this film, like there are just a bunch of times where he's just like talking with Krogh, and it just seems to go on forever. Like they just like talk forever and ever, and it just really is just like pretty. It just goes on forever, and it's just like really boring just listening to them talk all the time, and just like, yeah. And yeah, like shows in this film that Krogh apparently has like a prosthetic arm because his arm was like, as he would say, ripped out by the roots after he had an encounter with the monster as a child. Yeah, and yeah, this film just I really was not interested in this. I mean, it takes like at least 45 minutes to actually get anything with the monster in this film. Like the monster doesn't like come in at all until like at least 45 minutes into the film. Yeah, basically through that time it's just like Baron like arriving at the family castle along with his wife and son, and yeah, like as I said earlier, the villagers just really are not pleased to see him because of what his father's history. And yeah, it's just really like a pretty boring film to be honest, and the premise just was really boring and not interesting, and yeah, it's really just like most of this is just like Baron talking with the inspector and stuff, and it's just really boring to be honest. So yeah, I'm really not a big fan of this film. I would have to give this film, I don't know, yeah, uh, I would give this like I guess 2 stars out of 4. I mean, it's just really not interesting. Yeah. So yeah, I basically have already like gone over the plot of this film, like with everything I've already said. But yeah, and because yeah, it's mainly just like the first half is really just Baron like mostly talking with the inspector and stuff, and just seeing like how much the village really it doesn't like the Frankenstein family name, and yeah, Baron just wants to like redeem his family's honor and stuff, and yeah, and yeah, as I said, he then like meets Igor, and then yeah, they eventually end up recovering the monster's body and reviving it and stuff, and yeah, the monster like just ends up like going around and murdering like the jurors from Igor's trial, like I said, yeah, yeah, and gosh, it's just really like not an interesting plot. It really is not. And yeah, eventually like Baron eventually like discovered what the monster was actually up to because of Igor, and he was like then like confronted Igor about it, and then like Igor tried to attack Baron, but then Baron then ends up like shooting and killing Igor. Yeah, yeah, and then eventually the monster ended up finding Igor's body, and then he then wanted revenge on Baron for murdering Igor, and so then the monster ended up like kidnapping Baron's son Peter to try to get revenge, and then he was like gonna like throw Peter into like a sulfur pit that was underneath the lab, but yeah, he like couldn't actually bring himself to kill Peter, and so yeah, I guess that shows like how the monster really once again is not evil, because he does have like feelings of his own and stuff, and yeah, he really is not really evil, and he like doesn't want wouldn't actually kill a child that way, because like I guess this is like a little bit of continuity, like him remembering what he did to the girl in the first movie and stuff. But yeah, eventually then like Krog and Wolf like Baron were then like chasing down the monster in the lab. Yeah, and yeah, the monster ended up then just like tearing out Krog's false arm, and then yeah, Baron then just ended up like knocking the monster into that sulfur pit, and then Baron then was like reunited with his son along with his wife. Yeah, and yeah, it really just is not anything special really. Yeah, just then at the end of the film, like the villagers then are happy with the Frankenstein family, and then yeah, they're then just cheering them as they end up like leaving the village and stuff, and yeah, movie just ends like that. So yeah, and this movie is actually like pretty lengthy. I mean, the movie is about 100 minutes, but yeah, the plot is just like really basic, and it's just really like there's really not a whole lot to the plot. Yeah, a lot of the time it's just like spent on a lot of filler stuff. I mean, like I was talking before with Baron and the inspector and stuff, and yeah, just like a lot of other filler stuff with like a bunch of talking. Like there's scenes with like the maid of the castle like talking with Baron's wife and son and stuff. So yeah, it's really just like a whole lot of filler in this movie, to be honest. And yeah, it just is like a like extended out to just like be a whole lot of filler stuff, and the plot just is like really like simple and small. So yeah, this one really is not one of my favorites, to be honest. And yeah, and it really is like, while it is like pretty unfortunate that Boris Karloff would not come back as the monster anymore after this, I really don't think it's really hard to see why he didn't. Because yeah, when it comes down to small plots like this and stuff, and it just like really is a bore. And, yeah, like I said before, like yeah, after this, like Boris Karloff would not return as the monster again after this. This and yeah, and after this, like with any other Frankenstein movies, they would just like really be like B films, and yeah, the monster's personality would change where he would like get a lot more like comedic and just yeah, it basically was just like the monster really was not really the same like as it was with Boris Karloff. With everyone else that would play him afterwards, like it just like monster just was kind of like losing his dignity, to be honest. So yeah, that is like a real that leaves like a real sour taste for people that really did enjoy watching these movies, and especially like fans of Boris Karloff's portrayal as the monster. Yeah, just after this, just the monster really did just become like really silly, to be honest. So yeah, that really does suck, and yeah, this Jones one is just like not really one of my favorites, and I really did think that this did kind of like end Boris Karloff's run on a kind of a sour note, to be honest. So yeah, like I said, 2 stars out of 4. Really like a really big step down from the first 2 Frankenstein films. I mean, yeah, the first 2 were really great, but then yeah, this one just like really did like take a huge step down, and yeah, really was a pretty big downgrade, to be honest. So yeah, I really don't recommend you watching this movie. But yeah, a lot of people really do seem to like it. I'm not one of them. I really don't see what it is people really do like about it. But yeah, me personally, I don't recommend watching it. Alright, so, yeah, that does it for my review of Son of Frankenstein. Hope you guys enjoyed this review, and so, yeah, thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys later.